Joined by senior captain Andrea Bates. Andrea, talk about this season. It's the first time in your 4 years you guys have been in the thick of the playoff race. What's that been like?
Oh, it's been unreal. I'm glad I'm a part of it. It's been a lot different this year than it was the past 3 years, so just being in the running for the playoffs has been amazing, and I'm glad it's with this team. We're a very close-knit group of girls, so it's exciting to do it with my friends.
The team has been really competitive this year, a whole lot of ties, and really been competitive in every single game. Can you talk about what has led to you guys being so successful this season?
I think mainly our eyes are on the playoffs, so I think that's what's driving us forward. We've never had a winning season my other 3 years, so we're all hoping on making the playoffs, and I think we can.
Looking back on your career here, what have been some of the high moments you've had over your 4 years?
Well, I think overall this year has been a high for me, especially being captain and leading the team into a winning season, because we've never really had that, and it's pretty exciting.
By senior Justine DiDonato. Talk about this season a little bit. It's the first time in your 4-year career you guys have had a winning record.
Right. It feels great to be a part of a winning team, and it's something that I hadn't really experienced my prior 3 years, and it's a great way to end my college soccer career.
Looking back on your career, talk about some of the highlights you've had, some good memories you had that stand out to you.
The relationships I've had with some of my teammates have been great. Soccer enables you to form these bonds with people that you wouldn't get if you hadn't played the sport. Some of the things you endure together during practices. What was the question, though? I forgot what the question was.
What some highlights of your career?
Oh, right. So some of the highlights have been the relationships I've been able to make, and then some memorable games that come to mind was the first game I scored in, which was my junior year against St. Anselm, when I scored on a breakaway, and then this year, starting off the season, where Emily and I each had a goal and an assist, and is that true? Okay. And yeah, so those are some things that will stick with me as I graduate.
And talk about the inaugural Catholic Cup this year. You guys won that. Talk about that experience as a team.
Usually I was accustomed to starting off the season, our out-of-season games not doing so well. Sometimes we played D1 schools, or we were struggling. So this year was really great to come off the bat right away with 2 wins. And it really set the tone for the season, and I think that we've built off that, and we've had relatively positive season, and I'm excited in the hopes of playoffs.
What are some things you think you'll take away from being an Assumption College student-athlete?
I'll never forget my time that I spent here at Assumption. I've definitely had my highs and lows, but for the most part, predominantly highs. I spent a lot of time in the multi-sport stadium, a lot of hours on the field, a lot of practices, games, and I'll never forget it, and I think it's made me stronger mentally and physically, and I'll take that with me as I progress.
Joined by senior Allison Bruder. Allison, talk about this season, how it's progressed as you guys have had a winning record.
Well, this season we started off with the Catholic Cup and we won the games there, so that really helped us progress positively into the season, which is different from our previous years because we usually will start off with a hard, not that the game wasn't hard at first, but we usually have started off with losing, which has kind of, it hits a team hard when you start off with a losing streak. So this year is different that way, in that we're really looking forward to getting into the playoffs this year, because it's such a possible and reachable goal right now, so we're all looking forward to that and hopefully making it.
Looking back on your career here, can you talk about some of the highlights you've had?
Some of the highlights I've had would probably be starting my freshman year and getting into a few games because I didn't think I would be as a freshman, and then probably my junior year I got to play and start almost every single game of that year, and that was a really good experience for me, getting to play the sport that I love. And we played Stonehill, which I believe was my first or second shutout, and it was the first time we beat that team in a few years, I believe. So it was a really exciting year for me, and those are some of my highlights.
Looking back at that junior year, can you talk about, you mentioned the Stonehill game, maybe your most memorable game of your career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be probably one of my most memorable games, just because, like I said, I had a shutout, and in the Northeast 10, it's really hard for keepers to get shutouts. It's a very competitive league. Like usually, it's 2-1 games. Like that's usually what the score would be. So keepers are expected to get scored on in this league. So having shutouts, that's really exciting as a keeper.
Looking back on your 4 years, can you talk about some of the biggest takeaways you're going to have as a student athlete moving forward?
The biggest takeaways I'll have are drive to do better, push yourself to work harder, competitiveness to always know that you can improve and keep working harder again, and also probably time management, because as a student athlete you have to juggle all these different things at once. Like you're required to go to meetings, games, practices, and you have that student part too, where you have to study for tests and fit in all your homework and go to classes. So time management will be a big one for me.